Hey, how's everybody doing? Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be reading through One Piece chapter 1086, and I'm expecting a lot of good things about this chapter because we all know how the last one ended. 1085 was probably one of the craziest chapters in the history of One Piece. I gave that a 10 out of 10 because of how much information we were introduced to, and it's crazy how it works because we found a lot of information. We found out about a lot of information, but at the same time, as usual, that information also leads to more questions. The more information we get, the more questions we have. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just works like that in this story. So, for example, like, where do I even start? So it turns out that we found out that Lily, from way back in the day in the Void Century, 800 years ago, her name was, so she was one of the founders, one of the 20 founders, and her real name was Nefertari D. Lily. So we know she is a member of the D clan, perhaps. I think she, as of right now, she is the earliest known member of the D family in One Piece. Everybody else came after that. So not only that, but we found out from Emu, who was actually speaking. We got dialogue from Emu in the last chapter. So it was on record that for whatever reason, she called it Lily's blunder. So Lily's blunder essentially caused the One Piece storyline to take effect. It's because of Lily's blunder that the poneglyphs are spread all over the world. The Void Century is the thing. The Great Pirate Era is the thing. And we all know up until this point in time, everything has been happening because of one incident involving Lily way back in the day. And that's what Emu made it clear. So it's crazy. So this means that Lily is like already top 5 most important characters in One Piece, and she was only just now introduced. And so we also found out that not only that, but because Lily has the initial D, so does everybody else in that family, including Cobra and Vivi. So now we know that they are also members of the D family. Also, we got a small glimpse into the transformation and abilities of the 5 elders, because during that chapter, at one point Sabo straight up attacked them. You know, like some type of fire fist. I forget the name of the attack, but huge explosion, fire, and the elders just brushed it off like nothing, like it didn't even affect them. And then we saw that they were transformed into shadowy monster-like figures. And so that was the first time we saw a glimpse into what their abilities and powers are. And I think Im also had a transformation at some point, I believe, at some point in the story. And we saw one of her attacks, which was some type of serpent, you know, snake-like tail with an arrow at the end, a triangle, kind of looking like a devil's tail from cartoons. So that was an attack that ultimately got Cobra killed. And what else? Like, there's so much information that happened. And this also makes me wonder, okay, so Cobra mentioned that, you know, he was all like, Emu. I've heard the name Emu before. He was all like, it could be coincidence, but one of the first 20, one of the founders was named Emu. And honestly, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think the Emu from way back in the day, who was a founder, is the same Emu we have in present day. And I think the reason why is because of the eternal youth surgery that is a product of Law's devil fruit, because we know that's a thing. And it makes perfect sense if Emu were to have underwent that surgery, you know, therefore granting Emu eternal youth and allowing her to rule the One Piece world from the shadows for all this time. Because, you know, at one point, somebody had to have used that. You know, Law didn't get his devil fruit just like that. You know, someone had to have used that fruit in the past and performed the eternal youth surgery. So that is something that I think is a very realistic possibility at this point in the story. Also, what else happened? Like, I'm trying to think from the top of my head, things that were mentioned here and there. Wapple found out about him, you know, like suddenly, like I think I mentioned this last chapter, the best kept secret in the government is not so secret anymore. Like everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people know about Emu's existence than the 5 elders would like, you know, to know, you know what I'm saying? And that's why Wapple just booked it and took Vivi with her, with him So that's part of the story as well. What else happened? I feel like I'm missing something crucial. I'll probably remember later as the reading goes on. But, with Emu essentially living through the Void Century, it makes me wonder what the connection is going to be between Emu, Joy Boy, who else? Toki, as well as Zunisha, because we know that those people I just mentioned are also part of the Void Century at some point, you know what I'm saying? Like Toki traveled through time, Zunisha's been walking forever for some punishment that she committed in the past. My theory was that Zunisha helped in distributing the poneglyphs, and therefore sentenced to walking for all eternity unless Momonosuke commands her. So things of that nature, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, I just, there's just so much that happened in that chapter. It's hard to remember everything off the top of my head, but we just know that it was a lot of information being written in that chapter. We found out a lot of information, and that just left us with more questions. So it really is interesting how much One Piece, how much information we are getting from One Piece at this point in time. And it's, yeah, like I said, it's crazy. And I also had this theory that maybe Rocksteady Zebek wasn't so much of a bad guy. Well, maybe he was a bad guy, but maybe he knew that Im was a thing and wanted to overthrow Emu and take the throne for himself, because as we all know, he wanted to be king of the world. And how do you do that? By sitting on the throne, which is essentially at the center of the One Piece world, therefore being the ruler. So I'm starting to think that Rox definitely knew that Emu was a thing, and because he did study taboo subjects, and that makes me wonder, will Blackbeard at one point find out the same information as well? I wouldn't put it past him, you know what I'm saying, because he's also very into history. He studies a lot, so I think that's definitely going to be a thing with Blackbeard. So we'll just see what happens with that. But anyway, I think I'm going to call I'm going to stop my pre-discussion here. I'm going to jump into the reading and see what the new chapter has in store for us. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so to start off, we got a cover story here. It is it's not a cover story, it's a color spread. It's a cover request. Chopper and a kitty crossing the reflection of a rainbow they see in a puddle. Alright, I like these cover stories, cover arts, because it's very shows a lot of personality, a lot of character, very vibrant, and the colors pop. No rain, no rainbow. That's what the caption says. So good art. I like it. All right, let's go on. Okay. So One Piece chapter 1086, The 5 Elder Planets. So just by this chapter title alone, as we can already assume that it's going to be a freaking major chapter surrounding the 5 elders. It's interesting how they were called the 5 elder stars in the past, but I guess now they're going by I guess they are officially the 5 elder planets, which does make sense when you think about it, because we only have the name of one, St. J. Garcia Saturn, the planet. It makes sense. So I assume that is what Oda's going to go for when it comes to the 5 elders. So the name of the chapter, One Piece chapter 1086, The 5 Elder Planets. The fallout from the reverie. And so the curtains drew closed on the reverie before the news of King Cobra's came to light. This is Princess Vivi of Alabasta. Has anyone seen her? Where is the king? Has his condition worsened? All the while, a number of stowaways held their breath as they attempted to escape on various royal vessels. Hey, whose ship is this? The Aegis Kingdoms. Kingdoms, whatever. We're on Aegis ship, Morgans. Gotcha. We'll fly our headquarters over and pretend to look for a scoop. Use that chance to hop abroad and don't get yourselves caught before then. I owe you one. You got that right. A king somehow became the subject of a manhunt. This is big news. I can't wait to hear all about it. So, what exactly did you see in there, Wapple? Like I tell you, leave me alone and go back to your own ship. I can't. CP0 is no joke. Now that they're after me, it won't matter how much everyone tries to help. Those agents won't rest till I'm back in their custody. Now, let me borrow your transponders now. I need to talk to my father as soon as possible. He's a total worrywart. Anything but that. Get lost already. What's wrong with you? I just gotta say one thing. CP, I think I've said this before, but CP0 was a massive disappointment. Like CP0, I thought they were being built up to be some, monster killer secret agency group, but what have they really done? When you think about it, in Wano they showed up, they got freaking punked by Orochi, and then they were playing Go while narrating the events of the war, of the battle that was going on between the Alliance and the Beast Pirates. They fought Izo, and then they died. That's really, when you think about it, that's really all that happened. I mean, there was that interference by the one guy with Luffy and Kaido, which ultimately led to the awakening of Luffy's Devil Fruit, but beyond that, they were a disappointment. It is what it is, I guess, but oh well. So here they are, they're holding up posters of Vivi and Sabo looking for them. Then we cut to Bonnie, Tajin Kingdom's ship. I'm hungry. And now we cut to Sabo. If I can just make it to Lulusia, I know I can figure something out. I'm counting on you, Sabo. You must live on. It didn't take long for the two key stories to spread across the globe: the murder of King Cobra of Alabasta and the disappearance of his daughter, Princess Vivi. Now we cut to the Holy Land of Marijua. The man they call Sabo. He seems to have a checkered fate. How else can you account for him constantly being surrounded by those who bear the letter D? Okay, and it looks like they're getting a phone call on their transponders now. Ring, ring, clank. Yes, great Emu. I was hoping we would be able to see the egghead. I was hoping we would be able to see to the egghead issue now, but it seems that dealing with this complication will have to take priority. Okay. That Pangea Castle Flower Room. The time has come to put Vegapunk's invention to the test. Use the Mother Flame. Mother Flame. Why does that Vegapunk's invention to the test, the Mother Flame? So the first thing I can think about here is that I believe at one point in the story, I don't know if it was Vegapunk himself or one of the satellites, but I think it was explained that Egghead Island is essentially being run by a certain flame. When I first saw that back in the day, just to paraphrase, I think that's how it went. I thought that there might have been some leftover Lunarian DNA or Lunarian flames that powered Egghead Island, but who knows? And now Emu, again, she's talking about putting Vegapunk's invention to the test. Use the Mother Flame. Okay. It is true we haven't had the chance to try it out before now, so there's no way to ascertain its effectiveness yet. Depending on how well this experiment goes, Egghead may reconsider its response. I think a forest area would be a more suitable testing ground than a sea-based target. Lulusia Kingdom. Quite a lot of people live there. That is of no consequence. Here's something that's going on, right? Emu has no remorse, no feelings whatsoever for the lives or well-being of others. And meanwhile, one of the elders here, it looks like it's the big mustache guy who's talking, the bald guy with the mustache, long mustache. It looks like, so Lulusia Kingdom was suggested, and he was all like, quite a lot of people live there. And then Emu responds simply by saying that is of no consequence. Like, oh, people live there? There are families, children, people live there? Too bad. That's what Emu's thought process is. And you got to remember, back in the day during the Ohara incident, if you remember, when the elders were talking to Professor Clover and they were going to initiate the Buster Call and essentially pull the trigger on Clover himself, the elders kind of seemed hesitant to do that. Like they didn't want to do it, but they understood that in order to protect themselves, they had to. But they showed some type of uncertainty in that situation and kind of like a regret that they had to. So I think that's kind of a difference, kind of an interesting difference that they have going on between Emu and themselves. So, all right, so we go on. That is of no consequence. Understood. The world moves at the will of the creator. What is the reason for Lulucia's selection? Its close proximity. I will humbly... Wait. Yeah. Its close proximity. I will make necessary preparations. I humbly request your patience in the meantime. Lulucia's citizens have shown sparks of rebellion recently. We may be able to make an exception out of them. If we could one day use this power freely, we could instantly snuff out any protracted conflict. Okay. I just scrolled down. I just looked down. Ooh, hold up. Is this what I think it is? We are... Okay. 5 elder planets. Defense, science, warrior god, Saint J. Garcia Saturn. And then we go on to the next one. The guy with the long hair, long beard, long mustache, kind of thin. 5 elder planets. Listen to this. Environmental warrior god, Saint Marcus Mars. We are getting name drops on the 5 elders, dude. Then we go to the bald guy with the long mustache. 5 elder planets. Warrior god, Saint Topman Valkyrie. Yo, dude. It's really happening. And then we go to the bald guy with the glasses and white clothes. 5 elder planets. Finance warrior god. Is this guy the IRS or something? Tax collector? Debt collector? Holy moly. Finance warrior god. Saint Ethan Baron V. Saint Ethan Baron V. Nasjuro. 5 elder... Oh, that was creative right there. I think I just got that reference. Listen. Saint Ethan Baron V. Nasjuro. Listen to the last part of that name. V. Nasjuro. Venus. Gotcha. Interesting. Very clever right there. And then we go on to the last one. The guy who is blonde. Kind of the, younger looking of the 5 elders. 5 elder planets. Agriculture warrior god. Saint Shepherd Jupiter. This is Jupiter. But it's spelled J-U space and the name Peter. But we all know that's a reference to Jupiter. So this is Saint Shepherd Jupiter. We got the 5 elder name drops. Holy moly. It shall be as you say. So with the 5 elders being named after planets, right? The 5 elder planets that's their name. Is it possible that Emu could be the moon? Would that be who Emu is? The moon? I think I've said this before at some point, but when you think about it, the protagonist of the story, Luffy, he has the power of the sun god Nika, Joy Boy. Luffy is essentially the sun. He brings light and joy to the world of One Piece, to everybody he meets, everybody he comes into contact with. So you have Luffy, who is the sun, light. It would make sense if the overall villain of the One Piece storyline being Emu, who is obviously the king / queen of the world, whatever the heck, the endgame boss. It would make sense if Emu has a dark ability, probably a corrupted devil fruit, and Emu could be classified as the moon, darkness, light, day, sun, night, dark, moon. I think that's the way they're gonna go. But we just got name drops for the 5 elders. This is sick. That's incredible. Holy moly. Next page. One more thing, of course. Retrieve Vivi as you wish. Meanwhile, between the disbanding of the 7 warlords and the uprising in the government-affiliated nations, the Navy has her hands full. Their military power had already gone in a new direction. The Kingdom of Tajin and the Aegis Kingdom are both rebelling. Deploy the Seraphim, oh, look at these guys. Seraphim, Crocodile, Moria, and Doflamingo. We finally get to see what they look like. Crocodile was spotted on Empty Bluffs Island. However, I gotta say, I like the way their Seraphim look. I wonder if Moria is ever going to do something cool in the story. Moria, I feel like he has underrated potential, because we know at one point he was on par with Kaido, but then his crew got slaughtered, he went to a deep depression, went into hiding, gained weight, now Moria is not the Moria who he was back in the day. So I wonder if there's going to be a point where Moria really shines and does something with his shadow fruit, because I feel like there's a lot of potential for him there. But we'll see what happens. Let's move on. Okay, we cut to Sabo. The second we docked at Lulusia, the people arrested King Seki and Princess Kamane. They were just waiting to ambush the royals. Since I was a stowaway, they welcomed me with open arms. That's when I saw the papers and found out that they pinned King Cobra's murder on me. Unsurprisingly, the people there considered me a hero. I wanted to tell them the truth, but when I saw how the lie fanned the flames of rebellion within them, the words died in my mouth. Betty and the others had already inspired a lot of them, and I ended up bringing many of those hopeful recruits back with me. Smart plan, I guess. I couldn't make direct contact without an encryption snail, so I rerouted my call through the island while we were setting sail. I knew the government would intercept the signal, but doing it like that was sure to fool them into thinking I was still in Lucia. However, I was just within range, having already set out to sea with our new enlistees. So, the annihilation of Lulusia did really happen? Did happen like that during the call? Yeah, everybody on board was hysterical. A lot of them had family on the island. They saw their country obliterated right in front of their eyes. Despicable. How in the world did they do it? An enormous shadow seemed to engulf the sky above us, and the next moment, everything was gone. An enormous shadow. Dragon looks like he kind of knows what he's referring to. There's no way it was caused by a living thing or some natural disaster. Something pitch black was flying above the clouds. Sabo, earlier you mentioned... So that's Vegapunk's invention, huh? That's what they're saying, essentially. The Mother Flame. Sabo, earlier you said they used the name Emu. Right. This may be a little out there, but when the world we know today was created 800 years ago, one of the first 20 sovereigns was Saint Emu of House Nerona. Now, that's not a coincidence at all. That's 2 chapters in a row somebody has recognized the name Emu and related it back to one of the first 20 founders of One Piece. That's not a coincidence. 100% Emu that we see now is the Emu from back then. So one of the first 20 sovereigns was Saint Emu of House Nerona. Now look at this. So Sabo just got handed a book. It might be some history text. Since we know an ability granting eternal youth. So that's the Book of Devil Fruits, like an encyclopedia. Since we know an ability granting eternal youth is said to exist, that must mean someone has used it before, right? Which means there's a person out there that doesn't need to worry about death. It would make sense that Emu has that ability as speculated, you know? So, you think the one I saw is... It could be a coincidence. Maybe they just share the same name. Doubt it. No coincidence there. I don't think so. Could be a coincidence. Maybe they just share the same name. But could anyone else but a founder command the 5 elder planets, the highest of the world nobles? Good point. Yeah, absolutely good point. The celestial dragons fancy themselves as the descendants of the gods, after all. One more thing. Assuming the object you saw above the clouds was a weapon made by the government, then the only one capable of creating such a thing would be Vegapunk. Hold it, Eva. Vegapunk would never intentionally design a dedicated killing machine. I know. So what if it was an ancient weapon? Assuming Emu has been living since ancient times, there is a connection. Robin told us that the ancient weapons do in fact exist, but if this person had such a weapon, why wait till now to use it? Present day, the Holy Land of Marisha. A celestial dragon has just been sentenced to death. However, this information will never be reported to the outside world. Our food supply is gone. We have no bread. All we have is cake. Yo, this guy looks sick. Who is this guy? This is a new character debut we got going on. Look at this guy's hair and beard. He's sick. He looks tight. Interesting enough, he has the shape of a crescent moon. That's the design structure that he's, as you could obviously see from this panel. The judge was the former king of the land known as God Valley, dude. His name is Saint Figerland Garling. Holy moly, he currently serves as the supreme commander of God's Knights. The man he sentenced to execution, none other than the one who chose to defend fishmen, Saint Don Quixote Miosgard. Yeah, he's done for. GG's to that guy. No one's gonna come save him. Anyone who protects scum is lower than the scum they protect. A man who can even judge the celestial dragons. And that's gonna be the end of chapter 1086, dude. This guy is gonna be important to the story. Obviously, I mean, that goes without saying. So this is the judge. This guy right here is the former king of the land known as God Valley. That means there are people from God Valley still existing. At least one. So this means this guy faced off against Rox, right? Or, hold up. So the story goes that Rox had... Wow. So Rox had this guy and his people hostage at God Valley. Is that the case? Or is this guy just a former king and was he not involved in the God Valley incident at all? Yo, dude. Currently serves as supreme commander of the God's Knights. That's crazy. He has authority over celestial dragons. So it looks like, as of right now, from what this information is telling me, the tier list, the chain of command of authority, goes Emu at the top, the 5 elders below that, and then it would have to be this guy, the judge, Saint Figerland Garling. It would have to be Emu, the 5 elders, this guy right here, and then after that would be the celestial dragons themselves. But then I guess you also got to take into account that even though they are all nobles and celestials, there's probably a chain of authority or like well-known, some families are better known than others per se. Why does this guy's name look familiar to me? Figerland. Saint Figerland Where? I feel like I've heard or seen this name before at some point. I know I'm not crazy, I just can't put my finger on it. I don't know exactly where I've seen it. Just going back through the chapter, kind of looking at things here. Oh, there's a post-credit scene. Okay, so so the post-credits of this chapter is Oda is going to be taking a break, so 4 weeks. He's going to have eye surgery, so, we all hope that Oda gets his eyes fixed, so he could continue and deliver great content to us. So this is going to be the last chapter until 1 month from now, essentially. But this guy, he looks like he... Oh, hold up. No. Hold up. I think it just clicked. Hold up. I don't know how true this is. I'd have to look it up, but I think I'm right on the money with this. His name, Figerland, Saint Figerland Garling, the first part of it. I hope I'm saying it right. Saint Figerland. I think this name, if I remember correctly, it's been a while, but I think just like I just had like an epiphany right now. This guy, his name, I think it was mentioned in One Piece Film Red. I think it was the 5 elders who mentioned it. I think it was during the point, at some point in the movie, in the film, the 5 elders saw Uta, I believe. And then they were all like, Shank's daughter. So, I don't know exactly how the quote went. But if I remember correctly, it was from the film. I think that is the case. And I think they saw Uta and they were all like, that's Shank's daughter, must be part of the Figerland family or something along those lines. It was basically like almost like a throwaway comment, but not necessarily if you know what to look for, or like if you pay attention or something like that, because that was a new name that I had never heard of before. And as I was looking at it, I was like, I swear I've seen this somewhere or have heard of this name somewhere. So hold up. I just realized something. Okay, look. So the camera's moving. I'm smacking. Whatever. Let's get in frame. So if the elders were assuming that Uta was Shanks' daughter, therefore part of the Figureland family, Shanks, that might be his family name. I know I'm not crazy. If that is the case, this reveal right here is big news. Why else would the elders mention that specific family when it came to Uta? Because in their eyes, Uta was the biological daughter of Shanks, and therefore, if that is the case, obviously she would have his family, his last name, Figureland. This might be a case of Shanks' relative or family being introduced into the story at this moment, and that's insane to think about. Dude. Now that I'm looking at this guy closely, his design, like, I don't think I'm reaching here when I say that this guy's design kind of looks like Shanks. I'm not even kidding you. Like, the way he is positioned, the way he's sitting, the way he's holding his sword, the clothes he's wearing, I could easily see an older Shanks looking exactly like this. Shanks is a freaking traitor. He is a heel. I know I've said this before many times in many of my chapter readings. I have always, since day one, I've been suspecting that Shanks has evil intentions. And if what I am thinking is true, if what I'm relating his name, if the comparison I'm making is true, it is very possible that Figureland could be Shanks' last name. And therefore, that would make him a world noble, which would explain why the government bends over for him so much. When you think about it, the government bends over for Shanks just like that. He shows up, his mere presence is all like, oh, Shanks is here. Let's drop everything we're doing. We can't do anything else. Shanks, what do you want? What can I do for you? You want some apple juice, Shanks? You want some apple juice? Can I get you some like some milk and cookies? You know what I'm trying to say? Like it feels like the government bends over for Shanks, because when you realize Shanks showed up to the war in Marineford, and just by him showing up and clashing with Akainu, stopping him briefly, Shanks pulled up. He said a few words. You know what? If you still want to fight, fight me. Nobody wanted to fight. Everybody froze, including the admirals, including Sengoku. Everybody froze, and then Shanks was all like, all right, so I declare this war to be over. And there was absolutely no freaking backlash to that. There was no pushback from anybody. And then he was all like, you know what, this war is over. Let me take care of the bodies for Whitebeard and Ace. And then Sengoku was like, hey, whatever it is that you want, Shanks, go ahead. You want to take care of their bodies, go ahead. And then remember this, right? Remember this. Shanks was granted an audience with the 5 elders during the Reverie arc. He pulled up looking like a freaking fugitive, wearing the cloak, hood on his face, covering his face, and then he walked into the chamber of the 5 elders like nothing. And I've always thought of that as really suspicious, because there is absolutely no way on Earth that the 5 elders would ever grant an audience to Big Mom, to Kaido, to Blackbeard, to Luffy. Absolutely no way. And yet Shanks was granted permission to speak to all of them at once, and then he was left alone with them. There was no security for the 5 elders, no admirals, no holy knights, no Emu, I guess she was always watching from the shadows, but you know what I'm saying? So there was no security for the five elders, so that means they were absolutely confident that if anything were to go wrong, the five elders could take on Shanks, or they're in cahoots together. Like they are celestial dragons, therefore they are civil when they need to be civil. So I really do think that Shanks is a freaking bad guy. To what extent, I don't know, but I'm convinced. And I know I'm not wrong about this. About the Figureland connection to Uta and Shanks and this guy. Holy moly. And we just, and dude, and we got the planet name reveals. So you got Saturn, Mars, Valkyrie. Well, this guy's weird. Hold up. The bald guy with the mustache. He is Saint Topman Valkyrie. Valkyrie? Could that be a play on the word Mercury? Maybe. Anyway, look. I think the coolest play on words was the bald guy. Saint Ethan Baron Venus. I said that really weird, but it's Saint Ethan Baron Venus. Venus. It's right there in the name. And Saint Shepherd Jupiter. That's pretty cool as well. I like their names. They're sick. So yeah, so there's a lot of information going on in this chapter here. And I mean, holy crap, dude. Holy moly. It's interesting to note that, first of all, they have some pretty sick titles. Warrior God, huh? It could just be because they're celestial dragons, therefore they refer to themselves as gods, but I think these guys are actually the best of the best. 5 elder planets: defense, science warrior god, environmental warrior god, justice warrior, finance warrior, the guy who freaking, what, does he control the One Piece money or something? The berries? Taxes? Agriculture warrior. Oh, interesting thing to note, I just noticed. St. J. Garcia Saturn, he is labeled the defense science warrior god. He is on his way right now with Kizaru to Egghead Island, which is an island, the island of science, essentially. Interesting. Yeah, that's really fitting. But, oh, dude, this chapter's crazy. And there's no doubt in my mind that this Emu character from back in the day in the Void Century is the Emu we see now. Because Eva does make a good point, you know, who else but a founder could command the 5 elders? Absolutely nobody, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way. It has to be one of the 5, the original, one of the 20 founders. Wow. And now it sucks because we're going to have to wait a month to see where the story goes. Hey, but what a way to end this chapter. This guy looks sick. He looks freaking strong. And to think that he has authority over some celestial dragons, that's crazy. Judge. So he's the former king of the land known as God Valley. He's now the supreme commander of God's Knights. So he has to be the best. If he's the commander of the God's Knights, the Holy Knights, whatever the heck, he has to be the best fighter out of all of them. And he's a swordsman too. It's got to be Shanks. Like, I think there's some relation to that. Mjolnir is gone, by the way. There's no one's gonna save Mjolnir. I don't know how this guy gets out of the situation. I highly doubt it. Everybody who could take on this guy as a fighter, they're gone. So, GG's Mjolnir. I mean, the most he can do now is just give us some insane parting words and give us more information and all that. But holy moly, what a chapter. Anyway, that's gonna do it for our reading. One Piece chapter 1086. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what y'all thought. And other than that, I hope you guys have a good day. Stay safe out there. Take care. And I'll see you in the next video.